Hi everyone, this is Ravi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is our lesson 10 on Katalon Automation tool concepts. This is actually a part 2 of my previous lesson, lesson 9. So I recommend you guys to please go through my previous lesson, lesson 9, before you watch this session. So in my previous session, I have explained you the basic concepts of API automation by using Katalon. So what are all we learned in my previous session? We learned how to set up API testing project in Katalon, and also I have taught you how can you add any API request, either it might be REST service or it might be SOAP service in the object repository, so that you can use those request messages in creating API test cases. So I have also taught you how can you create API test cases, and then how can you add web service keywords in automating the API test cases. And I have showed you a simple two scenarios where we automated simple REST services and REST service scenarios by using Katalon Automation tool. Okay, so in this lesson, part 2 of my previous session, I'm going to teach you more advanced concepts of API automation. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos on these concepts. To all viewers, a big thank you whoever watching my YouTube videos. So what I can observe, around 86.8% of the viewers are watching my videos, but they have not subscribed to my channel. I would recommend and I would request everyone, please do subscribe to the channel and encourage me in posting more and more videos which are helpful for you guys. Thank you. Okay, so in this lesson, I'm going to concentrate on how to use variables, and then how can we use global variables in automating the API request messages. And also I'm going to teach you how can we pass values from REST response of one REST request to the REST request. That means, let's assume you have one REST request where you sent a request and then you got the response. Now from the response, I want to use one of the element of the response in the upcoming REST request message. Basically, you are passing the values from response to a request message. Okay, I'm going to teach you with an example. And also, how can we use snippets, inbuilt snippets in Groovy, which is being provided by Katalon. So it's really helpful in verification process. And I'm going to show you how can we run and validate our API automation scripts. Okay, so let's jump onto the system and see how can we perform all these actions by using Katalon Automation tool. Okay, so this is my Katalon Studio, where in my previous session we have created a basic project of an API, right? And also we worked on two REST requests, REST services. One is getting list of all users. So let me go to the site which we used. Okay, so this is one get REST service request, and this is one get single user request. So in the first request, we receive basically the response as 200 status code, and then you are going to receive all the users, right? And in the second REST service request, we receive the response as a single user details and the response code as 200. And we have automated these two REST services in my previous session, right? So if you see here in the Katalon, we already added those two services under object repository, and then we have created one test case called list users test, right? And then where we have validated these two services, and then we captured the response codes, and then we captured the JSON element path, right? Where we captured one of the user details, right? So these kind of very basic details we have seen in my previous session. So in this session, we are going to work on one scenario, right? So what is the scenario? First, I'm going to send a request of post, which is list users. So where I'm going to get the list of users in the organization. Okay, I'm going to get number of users, multiple users as a response. And then let's assume I want to take one of the user name, from list of users, right? And then I want to use update put service, which is put. This is get and this is put. So I want to use update request, where I want to update the user details with the name that I received from previous get service, right? So let's assume in the get service I received the name of Michael as first name, and I'm going to use that Michael here by using update service, and then I'm going to update the service with Michael name. Okay, so now how can we perform this automation by using Katalon? Let me show you. Okay, for that, if you see list of users, let's go to list of users service, where we have added list of users request REST service under object repository. Let's see here. If you see list of users, the URL is rest request.in /API /users page 2, right? This is the one. So let me execute this. We already added in my previous session. I'm just executing that service. If you see, it is giving me all the user details, right? Okay, what is my first user detail, which is Michael? Okay, and what is the another REST service that we are going to work, which is update, which is put, right? For that, let me add a new service here. We are under object repository. Under object repository, we created a separate folder. Under this, I'm going to create a new web service here. Web service request. Right click, new web service request. And then let's name this as update user. Okay, this is update user. What is the URL? The URL is rest this one, and then this is your request. So that means I'm copying this, and this is my entire URL. Okay, and here paste that URL and click on OK. And what is the method that we are using? The method that we are using is, it's not get, it's a put method, right? You select the put method, and then what is your this body, right? This is my HTML body, right? So that for that HTTP body, you need to go to HTTP body here, and then select text, and then here what is the format that we are using? We are using JSON format. So you need to select JSON and then paste it here, right? So let's save this service. So this is the service. Now let's execute this service and see what is the response that we are going to receive. Execute this. As soon as you execute, I should get the response of, see, the name of Morpheus, Geon resident, and updated so and so date, the latest date. So let me change this to Ravikant. Okay, and then again send this request. So before I send, I need to save the changes. Now I should get the response of Ravikant. So that means the username should update to Ravikant, right? So now instead of Ravikant, I want to update the name to Michael. That means the response I received from list of users, I need to take the name of the response from list users get method, and then take this value, and I want to update the name to Michael. How can we perform this? So that means I should not hard code the value here. I need to use some variable. Correct? For that, let me how to use variable dollar curly braces. I want to use this as username. I want to name this as username. Copy this. Okay. I want to what I'm doing, I'm replacing the hard coded value with a variable. And then if you see another tab called variables, you need to go to variables and you need to add the variables here. Okay. So click on add. So before we add the variable, I want to explain one more thing. So there is a concept of global variables. So if you go to default, so under profile, you have default here, right? If you click on default, here, these are all the global variables that you will be adding. So you can add the global variables under profile, under default. If you want to add any global variable, you need to click on add and then add your global variable. Okay. So it's keep in mind. Okay. So now let's go back to update user request service again. So here, I think it's taking some time for me. Just give me a minute. Let me save this. Okay. Save this. So before that, what we did here under HTTP body, we used a name called, the name variable called username. I want to create the same variable as a global variable. For that, let's go back to default, click on add. Here, name this global variable as username, which is string. What is the value I want to keep? For now, I want to keep ABCD or XYZ. Let's add XYZ. Okay. Click OK. So I'm just hard coding this global variable for now. Okay. I'm adding the username as a global variable and provided the value as XYZ. Okay. Let's go back to update user. Okay. Let's go to variables. So let me add a variable here and name this variable as same username here. Okay. Whatever the variable we provided in the HTTP body, the same name I'm providing here. Okay. So let me just delete all these variables. Okay. Name this as same username, and then what is the value I want to provide. So before I provide the value, what is the type I want to use? I want to use a global variable instead of string. Select it as global variable. So if you observe, earlier we already created the username called global variable under default, right? So now if you double click on this, you should see that. So currently I'm not seeing that because let me save this. Okay, let me save. As soon as I save, here the global variable whatever we added will be showing here. So which is username. Okay, double click here. Okay, and then click on save. So that means if you see here, if I execute this update user rest service now, it should take a value of a XYZ instead of hard coded value, right? The variable is username. That variable value is coming from global variable, right? So let me execute and see what happens. Okay. Earlier it was Ravikant, the response. Now it should get XYZ. Execute this. Now you can see you are getting XYZ, right? So done. So now let's create a test case now. Okay. Let me create a test case. Right click, click on new test case, update user. Okay. Test case with update user. Click on OK. And so now you need to add web service keyword. click on add web service keyword. And what is your web service? Which is send request. And what is the object? First, I have to get the list of all users, right? For that, I need to use this service. Either click on this and select list user service, or you just drag and drop here. Okay. So what does this give? It gives me all the list of users, right? I want to store this into a variable. What variable? Called response 1. I want to store this under a variable called response 1. Okay. Okay, now I want to, so what is the response? Let's go back to list users and then see, copy this response. See, when I am executing, I want to copy this because I want to get a value of my first user first name, right? And then what is this JSON path? So you need to copy this, go to Google. See, if you are not familiar with your JSON paths, right? Just type JSON Pathfinder and then click on this first link and you need to paste the response here. If you see here under data, we have total how many? 5 different users details, right? What is my first user detail? Which is Michael, right? Click here. So as soon as you click here, you are going to get the JSON path. This is called the JSON path. Copy this JSON path. Okay. Now let's go back to test case. See, once I get the response, I need to store the value of first user details, correct? So go back to update user and here I want to get use another web service keyword here, get element property value. Okay, and here what is your, from where you want to get the element property value? From the output of my previous step, right? For that here, this is your variable. Response object is variable. What is the variable? Which is response 1 is my variable. And what is your locator? My locator is this. I want to get the value of my first user details, okay, which I copied from here, right? And click OK. Okay, I am getting an element property of a JSON. That means I am getting a JSON path value. I got that. I want to store that into a variable called value. Let's assume, okay, I want to store that into a variable called value. So let's go back to script mode. Okay, earlier I have already explained you how to use script mode and then manual mode. Okay, let's go back to script mode and here I want to print that value. What is the value that we are going to get? Print value is value. I'm just calling that variable. Okay, and save this. Now let me execute this. What happens and see, we will see. Okay, let's execute this. So as soon as you click on execute, it's going to open your Explorer, right? It starts scripting where you'll be sending a request list of users and then response. You'll be getting the response that you will be storing in response 1 and then you are going to capture the first element of first name, first user first name and storing into value. I'm printing the value here. Okay, what is the value that we are getting? Let's go to console. If you see here, the value what I am getting is Michael, right? So that means I am successfully getting the response. I'm successfully getting the value from my list of users. Basically, I'm successfully getting first user first name, right? I'm storing that into a variable called value. Done. Now, let's go to script mode. And here, I want to, because we are using the global variable here and we are hard coded the value with xyz, but now I want to replace this hard coded global variable with the value what I am getting here under value, right, under output called value. So now let's replace global variable dot, okay, user name equal to value. That means what I'm doing now, I'm actually replacing the global variable hard-coded value xyz with the value that I'm storing in value. Okay, so now let's print again here. Okay, let's print again here and name global variable value is this. Okay, now let's execute test case again. Okay, go back to manual mode and then click on execute. Okay, so this time what it will do, it's gonna print both the first value whatever I'm getting, which is Michael, and then I'm storing that Michael into a global variable, and then I'm printing the global variable. Okay, so now let's see what happened. I think I see some error here. Okay, global variable. Okay, let me go back to my script here and then see what is happening. Dot username. So I don't see any global variable. Okay, sorry, we made spelling mistake here. Global variable. Okay, save this and run this again. Okay, let's save this and then run this again. So let's run this now. And we will see what is the value of global variable now I'm getting. Am I getting xyz, or am I gonna get the value which is stored under value? Okay, so now if you go to console, if you see here, instead of xyz it should get Michael. See, global variable is coming as Michael. So that means we are replacing xyz with the value that is coming from list users response, right? And now what I want to do, I want to use update user now. Add keyword, send request, drag this and drop here. If you see here, if I open this, I can see there is a variable that I'm using. What is the variable I'm using? I'm using the global variable. If you remember correctly, when we stored update user rest request under object repository, we have used the variable here, right? Same thing is reflecting here as well. I am actually calling the request, but that request is using your global variable called username, right? And this global variable username we already getting from here, right? Got it. Now let's execute this test case. Before executing the test case, I want to add another keyword service. Now here I want to verify the element property. Verify the element property value. I want to verify the element property. What is the verification I want to do? I want to see, okay, let me execute here. Okay, I want to verify if the response here, the response should be Michael instead of XYZ, correct? So I want to verify this. For that, copy this, go back to Pathfinder. So what is the name here? Sorry, this one. So that means my XPath is just name. JSON path is name, right? So go back to test case. Here, verify the value. What is the response? Okay, I want to store, see here, the request I'm sending update user. I want to store the response of update user into response 2. Okay, I'm storing that. Now I want to verify the value of the response. Right? What is the response? What is the variable? I'm storing that in response 2. Right? And what is the locator? Which is name. Just now we saw in the JSON finder. What is the value that you are expecting? I'm expecting the value of Michael. Right? So go to string and Michael. I'm expecting value of Michael. Click OK. So that means now if you see what is the sequence of steps, first I am sending the list of users and then I'm capturing the first username into a variable called value, and then I am storing that value into a global variable called username. And here while sending update user, I am sending the user details in the body with a global variable. See here, I'm using the global variable here, right? I'm using the global variable here, right? I'm sending the value of global variable to the update user, and I'm verifying if the name is getting updated with the same name that I captured in my previous request, right? Save all these changes and then run this. The final output should be passed. I need to verify whether the response I'm getting as Michael or not. Okay. Now click on run. As soon as you click on run, see it started execution. Done. So we have verified the name is actually Michael, right? So this way you can capture, you can use the variables and global variables, and you can capture the element of one response, and then you can send the same captured response element to the upcoming API request. Okay, and also let me explain about snippets. If you go back to update user, right, and if you go to verification, right, here I want to, let's say I want to add some verification points. What, let's say I have snippets here. Okay, I want to verify the status code, for example. Add that verification by using snippet. As soon as you click here, if you see, I have added a verification point for this update user request in object repository, right? And also I want to let's verify this one. Okay, what does it mean? This means whenever you execute any test case, if you see, as soon as this send request where I'm sending an update user request, as soon as you send this step will be passed only if the response code is 200, right? Let's run this again. As soon as you run, now you see it validates at the step 6. It sends the request, and also it's going to validate if I received the response code as 200 or not. See, all the steps are passed now. Okay, that means the response code also been validated, right? And also let's go back to update user again. Now let's assume here I want to validate the response here. As soon as I send this request, the response should be, instead of adding this additional step, I can perform the same validation under this request itself. How? Scroll down, and here if you see, okay, if you see here, there is a snippet called response body JSON value check, right? I want to add this one. To do, what you can do is you can just place your cursor in one of the element of your response. This is my response, right? I'm placing the cursor under name and hit Control K. So as soon as you hit Control K, it's gonna add verify element property response name. What is the response I'm expecting in my test case? Whenever I execute, in my test case, I'm expecting Michael, right? Let's capture that Michael spelling. Copy this. Go here. Replace with Michael instead of XYZ. Save this. Now let's go back to your test case again. So what we are doing, when I am sending a request to update the user details, I'm also doing some verification. What are all the verifications I'm doing? One is response code 200, and also I'm verifying if the response has a Michael instead of hard-coded value. Michael is coming from my previous step, right? So now let's execute this, save this, and then execute this and see if the step 6 is pass or not. I'm running this script and it is executing. I'm getting the response. Done. That means if you see here, my username is correct. That means I'm performing the validations by using snippets, inbuilt snippets provided by Katalon. Okay, so this is the way you can use snippets in verification. Okay, and also this is the way you can use your global variables and variables. Okay, hope these are all really very important concepts, guys. How to use variables, how to use global variables, right? How to use your snippets, all these things, right? How to use snippets in verification process, right? All these concepts are very important in automating your test cases. Okay, hope you all understand the concept. If you have any questions, please do provide your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you.